first government shutdown in years.
Yes, this is happening. It officially began at midnight because lawmakers and President Trump failed to reach a deal. Both sides are now in a bitter fight over spending priorities and blaming the other. According to one estimate, up to 750,000.
Incredible coverage, by the way. Every media outlet, for the most part, has been covering this as though, both sides have the same kinds of demands here. I mean, what are they doing? Can't they all get along and not let the government shut down? And it's been mind-boggling to watch from afar because the framing is so psychotic. Like, the Democrats are shutting down the government or refusing to push another funding bill because they have no other mechanism to defend Americans' health care. Okay? They just don't. Government shutdowns only happen because the American government has to get back together and decide that we're going to keep funding the American government. Okay? It's already a unique predicament. The reason why it's happening this time around is because, Trump. It's because of Trump. Because the Republicans have basically pushed through insane bills that cut tax for the wealthy or make them permanent, the previous tax cuts permanent that were supposed to sunset, while simultaneously cutting a tremendous amount of healthcare expenditures by making it more difficult for people to be able to stay on Medicaid. And this is the reason why the Democrats, first and foremost, primarily, this is the reason why Democrats are trying to get assurances from the Republican Party. Okay? Make no mistake. It's because there's $800 billion in cuts coming down for Medicaid. They want to, at least in the interim, continue funding Medicaid in this next spending cycle. There's a bunch of other reasons as well. One of the reasons is because Donald Trump is using what is it called, like a pocket veto, and basically deciding that now that the Supreme Court has given him the power to do so, basically deciding unilaterally that it doesn't really matter what kind of congressional budget assurances are made because he can just veto them. He can on his own go out there and be like, oh, you guys are spending, $5 billion on U.S. aid, for example. Sucks to suck. I'm not letting that happen. And the Supreme Court basically gave him that power to do this. Okay. So obviously, this kind of takes away the entire purpose of Congress. It's like the Congress is supposed to be the purse, right? They're supposed to control the purse. And now it turns out that the White House can just say, don't see that. Don't feel that way. Okay? So that's another major point of contention for not just the Democrats, but even Republicans as well. Republicans are also frustrated with this. They're just pussies and they won't say anything about Donald Trump basically shredding what remains of the separation of powers, right? But here we are. There is going to be a major impact, obviously, when the government shuts down. There are almost 1 million people in the federal government that are furloughed. As it stands currently, as of today, all of the federal government workers are technically working without pay. That just means there's no assurance. Obviously, in the next pay period, if they end the shutdown by the next pay period, it doesn't matter. They get paid, right? But right now, there is no guarantee that they might get paid. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the federal government agencies will actually scale back on the people that they are hiring, or definitely scale back on the people that they're hiring, but scale back on the people that are working in real time. Now, of course, one would expect ICE to also get this drawback, except Donald Trump has said ICE is still going to, and Customs and Border Patrol is still going to work full throttle as they have been. Don't know how that's going to work. Don't know how they're going to find money in the bank for that. But yes, fear not, they are legally required to back pay employees. And a lot of people are currently working without pay, technically. That doesn't mean that they're not going to get paid. If the shutdown ends by the next pay cycle, you just get paid as you normally would. Okay?
Workers could be furloughed every day, costing them $400 million in pay every day. Nancy Cordes is at the White House this morning. Nancy, good morning. This is terrible news for workers who are waking up in limbo. Good morning to you. What can you tell us?
It absolutely is, Gail. You know, usually these shutdowns get headed off because one side blinks or there's a last-minute agreement, but this time neither of those things happened. And so as of this morning, the federal government is technically out of cash. How long will it last? No one knows.
After Congress failed to reach a deal last night, tens of thousands of federal workers will be told to stay home today, furloughed without pay. Workers deemed essential, like air traffic controllers and members of the military, will stay on the job, though they won't get paid for now either.
Most TSA officers live paycheck to paycheck.
Aaron Barker works for TSA in Atlanta.
If it gets to that point where officers...
This is also going to absolutely cook travel as well, which is going to be interesting for me when I come back to the United States of America. Okay. Obviously, like, there is going to be a scale back on the employees that they even put out on the security line. So there's that issue too. But you know, everything is going to be busted. Everything is going to suck. Everything already sucked, but it's going to suck even further. Obviously, we want the federal government to work. The federal government is good. It should work well. And the Trump administration has been actively trying to ensure that it doesn't work well at all. They have been undermining the federal government. So this is just a little bit of a taste of what it will look like. This is a little bit of a taste of what it would look like if Donald Trump and his administration got their wishes across.
Can't afford to come in or have to make a decision whether to purchase medication, pay daycare, or put gas in the car to come to work. They're going to have to make that hard decision, and no one really wants to do that.
But they may have to, because late last night, a funding bill did not pass the Senate. It needed 8 Democrats. It got 3.
You know, the only real victim here is the American people. This is so unnecessary and uncalled for.
Dog, you guys are Republicans. You want to victimize the American people. And the entire reason why this shutdown is even happening is because you have been actively victimizing the American population. This is one of the few instances where the Democrats actually got a light lit up under their asses and have put on some semblance of a fight. Make no mistake, this is information warfare, okay? This is going to be, the next couple of days are going to be basically the Democrats and Republicans duking it out. Republicans lying and saying, oh, it's the Democrats want to fund illegal immigrants or whatever. And then the Democrats being like, no, this is because of health care. They're probably going to do not a great job of defending their position, even though their position is totally defensible. And it's going to be important. It's going to be important to communicate exactly why this is taking place. And the Republicans have already started on their messaging campaign by claiming that this is actually $1.5 trillion of money that the Democrats want to give directly to the illegal immigrants. Donald Trump posted that that AI video where he put Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero, called him a Mexican, and then did that AI speech for Chuck Schumer saying all the illegal aliens hate us. Or we want to give them money, and if these illegal aliens were to learn how to speak English, then they would learn to hate us as well. All this shit, okay? And unfortunately, Democrats have a tough job ahead of them because they're, 1, deeply uncharismatic. 2, not exactly used to fighting back. And 3, they already have, I mean, everyone has a tough time combating the misinformation, the faucet of misinformation that comes from the Republican Party. The government websites have already been propagandizing the position. Here's the HUD website. The radical left in Congress shut down the government. HUD will use available resources to help Americans in need. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. This is like unheard of. It's unseen. No one has ever done this before. It's pretty crazy shit. Okay, they're just straight up using all of the outlets available to propagandize to the American public. If the Democrats did anything even remotely similar to this, they would get blasted out of orbit by the Republicans. But of course, they're doing it regardless. They're blaming AOC. They're blaming whoever the fuck they can. It doesn't really matter. It's all bullshit. Okay? It's all bullshit. I'm here to tell you what is actually going on. And then also tell you that, there are some downsides to this, especially if the Democrats don't demonstrate messaging discipline and find themselves in a bind and then are seen shouldering the blame, shouldering the responsibility of the shutdown.
Democrats were holding out for an extension of Obamacare premium subsidies and changes to Medicaid.
Our guarantee is to the American people that we're going to fight as hard as we can for their health care.
President Trump is warning his administration might use the funding lapse to push through more mass layoffs. I asked him about that yesterday.
How many federal workers do you plan to lay off?
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats.
Later in the Oval Office,
this is just posturing. Because like, if you're saying that the government shutdown is bad, then and the Republicans are saying that, then you can't turn around and be like, yeah, I can't wait to fire everybody permanently. It's a lie. Obviously, when push comes to shove, when shit hits the fan, Republicans also recognize the importance of the fucking federal government. Okay? They don't want to shut down. They know it's bad. They know it looks bad for the Republicans. But remember, the most important part of the shutdown is the demands. Okay? If you don't get your demands across in this treacherous information landscape, because the Republicans are so used to bullying the shit out of you, then you're cooked. Then you will be seen as the responsible party for the shutdown, and you won't even be able to achieve the goals of pushing for a shutdown so you can get concessions from the Republicans on protecting people's health care. Okay? This is very important, because that is the reason why the shutdown is happening. But I do not believe that Donald Trump is like, oh, I'm going to fire everybody. I'm going to fire everybody. Bitch, you're still begging for half the people that you fired with Doge to come back to their positions, okay? Are they stupid enough to go along with this and then actually use this as an opportunity to fire a bunch of people? Maybe. But ultimately, that will backfire on this administration as it did already with Doge. Okay? You can't continue this race to the bottom. You can't do that. You can't, like, take advantage of the shutdown to fire more people, because you need those people. You need to hire more people, ironically enough, not fire them. So a decently competent party, which the Democrats are not, would use this opportunity to say, hey, look, we want to protect your health care. These guys already cut it. They want to keep cutting it, and they're behaving like petulant little children, and they're also threatening to fire more government employees. It's ridiculous. It's completely unacceptable. Look at the priorities for either party. Which message resonates better with voters? We want to protect your health care. Republicans, on the other hand, don't want to protect your health care. They already destroyed your health care. It's going to happen after the midterm elections. We want to claw back some of those expenditures. The Republican response to this has been, well, we're just going to fire more people.
The ante, claiming that all the workers who lose their jobs will somehow come from one party.
We'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they're going to be Democrats. A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things.
The uncertainty has left workers like Barker to wonder if their jobs could be on the chopping block.
It's one thing to say, hey, you may not get paid, but then to say you may not get paid forever, we're going to remove you from your job, is a whole nother thing. It's just the worst case scenario.
President Trump continues to taunt Democratic leaders about all this on social media, posting another AI-generated video of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, which is similar to an earlier one that Jeffries called bigoted. He also posted these photos of their Oval Office meeting on Monday with Trump 2028 hats prominently displayed on his desk.
Oh, God, this fucking thing. It's just so stupid. Like, what do you say to this? What do you do? What do you say? I mean, it's just so... Like, I'm not Mr. Aesthetics. I'm not Mr. Civility. But god damn, dude. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, Donald Trump engages in behavior that would be disqualifying on a daily basis. Not even on a daily basis, like 4 times a day, minimum. Like, we're not even doing messaging at this point. Like, Republicans aren't even messaging. They're just trolling, which is so crazy. Like, you're the fucking government, man. You're playing with people's fucking lives. Even as someone who is very critical of the Democratic Party, even as someone who's actively at times been combative with the Democratic Party, I still recognize that right now they're fighting for your health care. That fucking dipshit sitting over there that's now worth $7.3 billion, wonder how that happened, is stealing from you and giving all that money back to his wealthy friends and campaign donors. Okay? What will it take for you to comprehend that this dude is fucking you over? Let natural selection take place? That's not how it works. There's no natural selection under capitalism. It's the poor that get shafted. Plenty of poor people who don't deserve this. Nobody really deserves this, but even people who are begging for it, in my estimation, don't actually deserve it.
A nod, Tony, to a potential third term that the law does not allow.
Nancy, thank you very much.
Down for the first time in nearly 7 years after lawmakers from both parties failed to reach a deal.
Republicans once again rejected Democrats' proposals to avoid a shutdown.
The Democrat caucus here in town, in the Senate, has chosen to shut down the government.
Overnight, senators blocking dueling proposals. Democrats overwhelmingly rejecting a GOP bill to keep the government funded.
The bill, upon reconsideration, is not passed.
And Republicans blocking a Democratic bill to reverse Medicaid cuts and extend Obamacare subsidies to keep healthcare costs from rising for millions.
How long would you be willing to let a shutdown go on until your demands are met? As long as it takes?
We need to save healthcare. It's so basic and existential for a lot of American families.
With lawmakers deadlocked, the president turning to mocking Democratic leaders, posting another AI-generated video on social media, showing Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero and a fake...
Like, this is one of those things where, like, you just have to... You can't get, like, mad about this. You just can't. It's like a child, right? So, under no circumstance can you openly get mad about this shit. You just have to be like, dog, what are we doing? I mean, look at this guy. Like, I want to fucking save your healthcare. He already stole money from your healthcare so we can give it back to his wealthy donors. And look at the kind of silliness he's engaging the serious subject matter with. 750,000 jobs are at risk right now. Americans that live paycheck to fucking paycheck. And that's what the president is doing. Okay? That's what the president is doing. Because you say this makes MAGA hard. Okay. What about all the Trump voters that work in the federal government, Chad? What are you talking about? They're worried about their fucking paycheck. This is what the president's busy with. You're forgetting that this is not like, it's not just Democrats that work for the federal government, okay? There are people that work in the national parks. You would assume that that's like a very woke job. Except there are plenty of fucking Trump voters that work in the national parks, for example. Just like Medicaid is not a partisan thing, okay? Medicaid is not a partisan issue. Republicans are on Medicaid just like Democrats are on Medicaid. So you have to communicate that to the people. You have to make them understand who's actually wishing them harm, who's actually doing them harm. It's that simple.
Mustache.
We need from the President of the United States an individual who actually is focused on doing his job as opposed to engaging in racist or bigoted stereotypes.
The president trying to ramp up the pressure, threatening mass layoffs and cuts to programs.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
Like, that's such a stupid, like what? Like what, dude? The EPA? Great. The FDA? CDC? Like, what do you mean? National Weather Service? Like, what? This is the federal government. This is not a partisan thing. Oh, my God. Yeah, you'll see. You'll see. I'm going to make sure everyone's getting trichinosis from their meat. You'll see then. Oh, the Democrats will be so owned. We'll own all the libtards when you don't know, when your house is flooded and you didn't know ahead of time and you didn't escape because the National Weather Service is cut because it's woke and gay. Everybody transgender at the woke weather service. Fuck yeah, dude.
Including the idea of cutting benefits without saying which ones.
We can do things medically and other ways, including benefits.
Already, as many as 4 million federal workers are preparing to go without pay, with furloughs hitting the majority of agencies. The Department of Labor seeing 76% of its workforce temporarily reduced. At Health and Human Services, 41% of employees will be furloughed, including 64% of workers at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Members of the military also hit hard, many forced to work without a paycheck. Jamie Billard, whose husband is in the Coast Guard, preparing to...
You think those motherfuckers are all Democrats? You think these guys are all libtards, chat? What are we thinking? Like, how do they feel when they hear their president, the guy that they voted for, turn around and be like, I'm going to cut them. I'm going to cut your jobs. I don't give a shit. Like a petulant child. You think they like that? No, this is an opportunity to explain to people, to show them the truth. This is an opportunity to expose the truth for all of your loved ones who are fucking Trump supporters still at this point. Yeah. Also, we have the new jobs numbers that came out. The revised jobs numbers actually went from 54,000 down to minus 3,000. In September, the numbers of jobs that were created was minus 32,000. So let's see how that works out. This isn't the unrevised numbers, I think, by the way. We'll only find out what the revised numbers look like and how many more jobs were actually cut by the end of this month, in the month of September, just like we found out that the revised job numbers at the in the month of August, you only find out at the end of September. So it's probably even worse. Are you tired of winning? We're going to win so hard. And by the way, this is the new guy. This is the good guy, the good numbers guy, the guy that Donald Trump brought in.
How they feel about this shutdown right now. CNN's Harry Anton is running the numbers on this. What are you seeing?
Yeah, what are we seeing? This is an American public that more so than ever before I've looked at the polling is willing to go to a shutdown. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. What Americans wanted.
Boom. That's all I needed to hear. That's enough. Holy Toledo. Okay. Holy Toledo. The very fact that there's 49% appetite for stand-on principle in 2025 is enough. Okay? This is not supposed to be a popular position. It's like strikes. Work stoppages are controversial. Okay? They're damaging. They're scary. People don't know. People don't know what might happen. There's a lot of instability that comes with it. But this is leverage. This is the only leverage that the Democrats have to fight back against the administration taking money directly out of your pockets, taking money out of your health care. That's why they're doing this. And I really, really hope that the Democrats can stress the importance of that over and over again, because this is an opportunity to stand on a visible platform and say, this is why we're doing it. Nobody wants a shutdown. The Republicans refuse to give assurances and protect people's health care.
Shutdown. Well, traditionally speaking, I got the 2013 numbers. The majority of Americans want compromise, no shutdown. You go back to 2013, just 33% said stand on principle, even if it means a shutdown. Come to this side of the screen, we see an even split, right? 50% of Americans say they want a compromise, no shutdown. But up like a rocket, standing on principle, we see now 49%, basically an even split on Americans either wanting a shutdown or, in fact, saying they want their side to stand on principle. I think we're hearing a lot of that from Chuck Schumer.
Which group has shifted the most in terms of compromise or not?
You know, it was so interesting to hear those clips of Chuck Schumer being played back from 2013, from all those past shutdowns.
And just from March, right?
Potential shutdowns. And what has changed significantly is Republicans have always been willing to basically say, you know, we should shut down the government and stand on principle. But now Democrats, a significantly larger portion of Democrats say, you know what, let's...
Yes, Republicans are always in favor of a government shutdown because that's at the heart of Republican messaging. Okay? Republicans act as though the federal government is irrelevant. The Republicans act as though the federal government is worthy of significant cuts because they're stupid and they don't understand that the federal government is important. It's not only a jobs program, but also on top of that, it needs to exist for people to live their daily lives without fear that, you know, the food that they're purchasing at the grocery store is poisoned, or know exactly when some kind of devastation might take place in the form of a natural disaster. Roads run as they normally would, you know, just like every aspect of our lives. The federal government is there, invisible. Federal government, as I always like to say, is only visible when it's failing. Okay? It's only visible when it's failing. If it's invisible, that means it's doing its fucking job. Considering that they control the White House and Congress right now, this will look like a severe incompetence that will lay squarely on the shoulders of the Republican Party. So if the Democrats message correctly, at this moment, they will be able to actively shift the attention to the ways in which the Republicans are cutting their health care, which is incredibly important. And not only that, but also they will be able to put the blame on the Republican Party and their incompetence and their inability to address this pressing demand. Let's continue.
Principle. What Democrats want to pre-shutdown. You go back to 2013, just 18% of Democrats said stand on principle. The vast majority, 76%, 3 in 4 Democrats said compromise, no shutdown. Look at this side of the screen. Look at this percentage that said stand on principle back in 2013. It was 18%. Now it's 47%, more than double. In fact, nearly triple the percentage of Democrats now say stand on principle as compared to 2013. We see a much more even split among Democrats. The 52% who say compromise, no shutdown, the 47% who say stand on principle, within the margin of error of each other. What we're seeing is a Democratic Party that is much more so than ever before saying, you know what, let's shut down the government, even if it means no compromise, so that we can stand on principle.
A big question now that it is shut down is how long is this going to last? We keep making the comparison to the longest shutdown, which was in 2018. What's your reference point on how long you would say it is going to last?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. You look at these numbers, right? You see that 18 to 47%.
Right.
You see this 33% to 49% stand on principle, and you hit at it, Kate Baldwin. The longest shutdown on record was 35 days back in 2018 to 2019, and we're seeing now a Democratic Party that's much more likely to dig in, and you have that Republican Party that has pretty much always been over the last decade very likely to dig in. I think this is a pretty good reference point. I wouldn't be surprised if we reach this record or go.
Breaking shutdown impacts are starting. Republicans are shutting things down and destroying projects. This is stupid of them, in my opinion. And as they now will own the shutdown side effects like idiots, nearly $8 billion in green new scam funding to fuel the left's climate agenda is being canceled. The projects are in the following states. So dumb. So fucking stupid. That's jobs, man. That's jobs. That's jobs in states, okay, where Republicans will be working as well. I know that these are, for the most part, blue states, and that is by design, for the record. If you noticed, they're not cutting funding or canceling projects that were allocated to jobs in red states, okay? They're such fucking assholes, dude. They're such animals. How do you deal with this shit, dude? How do you deal with a government that has identified half the population as its enemy? And it's ironic because they used to say Joe Biden is doing this when he says that, like, MAGA Republicans represent a threat to this country, but he never did shit like this. You know what I mean? It's so crazy that they're just openly waging war on Democratic cities and Democratic states. And it is obvious that they're like so careless about it too. They just don't care. Like they're not thinking about the impact of this.
Go further, of course, time will tell.
Yes, it will. Thank you so much, Harry. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Democrats, the party of open borders, transgender for everybody.
Oh, my Lord. Brother, you can't put that in an ad, man. That's so dumb. They're so fucking stupid. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What do you say? What do you even fucking say to this shit, bro?
Party of open borders, transgender for everybody. Lawlessness in our streets are shutting down the government in an effort to appease the radical left. These Democrats are coordinating their strategy with outside leftist groups and are demanding nearly $1.5 trillion in spending for an agenda that includes healthcare for illegal aliens and much, much more. Democrats for years have railed against government shutdowns, claiming a shutdown would mean much chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Democrats are out of control, and you know who it hurts?
You, everyday people, and the most vulnerable. Seniors, veterans, working families, hungry kids, y'all.
Tell Congress to avoid the Democrat-led government shutdown.
Federal workers are being told to blame Democrats for the shutdown. Workers at one agency were given unhinged partisan language to use when setting out-of-office replies. I mean, what? What do you say to that? Like, this is unheard of. The Hatch Act is for nothing, okay? It doesn't exist, seemingly. Seemingly, it's just, it's nothing. It's fake. They're using otherwise, like, nonpartisan instruments to directly make partisan appeals for one party over the other in a way that I've never seen before.
Well, thank you, Carolina, and good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon to everybody who's watching at home. It's a tough act to follow, but let me just say a few things, then I'll take a few questions. Number one, Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering health care costs, and yet, when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen. What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to health care funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition. Let me say two other quick things then.
It's also just straight up a lie. How do you answer this bullshit? I mean, you just keep pushing back. You just keep pushing back because it's a straightforward lie. I mean, here, there is one, there's the Caitlin Collins interview that comes to mind.
We're rolling the greatest hits on our social media.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the point about giving people who are here illegally health care is not exactly what is in their proposal.
No, it is 100% what their
immigrants
proposal.
who have legal status,
No,
and you're just
Caitlin,
disagreeing
you're
on who's eligible.
No,
I looked at it, actually, because I was curious about your argument yesterday.
You should study the CBO's analysis that they just put out a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw that, but
It's a fraction too. Like legal migrants that get the benefits are a fraction of the expenditure that we're talking about. And they just are like, no, you don't understand. It's actually illegal immigrants that are getting $1.5 trillion. It's like, you just made that up, man. That's not true. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for any social expenditures whatsoever. It just doesn't. It's a lie. You're just fucking lying. Just like these dipshits originally lied when they were pushing Build Back Better, or Big Beautiful Bill, sorry. Fuck. When they were pushing Big Beautiful Bill and Democrats were raising the alarms about $800 billion in Medicaid going away, okay? $800 billion in Medicaid funding going away. They turned around and said, no, we're just cutting it from undocumented migrants. It was a fucking lie.
1.2 million people. You're basically arguing about who has legal status, people who are seeking refuge here or seeking asylum.
No, I'm making sure that we are making sure in our provisions that we signed into law have ensured that health care benefits go only to eligible U.S. citizens.
Right,
Chuck Schumer's
proposal.
Federal law was not being enforced. That's the whole point. We had to fine-tune that so that we could strengthen the health care program. That's what we did.
On this,
we're rolling the greatest hits on our social media.
yeah, I'm just
straight up a lie
from the Biden administration. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the healthcare crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say that we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want, which, as Caroline says, includes giving billions of dollars of taxpayer funding for healthcare for illegal migrants. That's ridiculous. You don't have policy disagreements that serve as the basis for a government shutdown. Let's have the conversation about how to fix American healthcare, about how to make healthcare more accessible. As the president showed, he's more than willing to act on behalf of the American people for this very reason. What you don't do is say, unless you do exactly what we want to do as congressional Democrats, we're taking a hostage. And the hostage, it turns out, is critical, essential services that the American people need. Caroline talked about some of it. Let me talk about some more. Our troops are not getting paid starting today because of the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democratic Party. We have people who
Great. Then concede. Then make sure that everybody gets health care. There's always two parties to a negotiation like this, okay? There are two parties here. Negotiate. Concede. If the demands from the Democrats are reasonable and just, in this case they certainly are, concede. Or own it. Own that you're like, no, I'm going to keep the government not funded. I'm going to keep the government shut down, and all those people are going to suffer because I don't want to fund healthcare, because we gave massive tax cuts to the super wealthy, and we wanted to ensure that our friends that gave us a lot of money kept receiving tax cuts. And obviously, in an effort to justify said tax cuts, we had to cut funding elsewhere. And the elsewhere is you, the American people. You, the American people, will suffer. Your healthcare will be more costly. Your healthcare is already expensive. It's going to be even more expensive.
Require food assistance, low-income Americans who require food assistance, who will not get it unless we reopen the government, thanks to Chuck Schumer and his wing of the Democratic Party. We have flood insurance as we start hurricane season in the southeastern part of our country. That flood insurance is going to disappear because of Chuck Schumer and the far left of the Democratic Party. We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them. But let's reopen the government before we have our negotiation about health care policy. That's what the American people demand, and that's certainly what the President of the United States wants. Let me make one final point. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as Caroline said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? And there are a lot of different spins that we can put on it, a lot of different answers that we could give, all of them true. One answer I already gave is that they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off health care benefits for illegal aliens.
They're not cutting off health care benefits for illegal aliens. You want to know why? Because there are no healthcare benefits for illegal aliens. Okay? There are no healthcare benefits. There's no government-funded healthcare for undocumented migrants. Okay? They might exist at the state level, like for California and whatnot, but that's a state legislature thing. Okay? There is no federal funded program that directly funds healthcare for undocumented immigrants. Okay? Undocumented migrants can only the undocumented migrants and their overall impact on the federal government is only when they go to emergency room visits and they can't pay for it. That's it. And that is marginal. It's like 0.1% of overall expenditure. Okay? Straight up. This is a lie. There is no federal funded initiative to give health care, government funded health care, to undocumented migrants. It is made up.
That's one of the things that they asked for. But the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix health care policy for the American people. Questions?
This is quite literally the Democrats, by force, trying to fix healthcare policy for the American people. Not even fix healthcare policy for the American people, of course, but to simply defend the existing lackluster healthcare policy that you guys have further crippled. That is the entire point. I can't believe that the Democrats have finally arrived at the correct position after months and months of demands coming from the base. I still fear that given the misinformation landscape that exists, especially with the vice president going on this podium and just actively lying without any pushback whatsoever, because who the fuck's going to push back in that press room, right? All of the people that could have asked a couple questions about the veracity of the statements he's making have been removed from the room, and instead they've been replaced with Tim Pool and Laura Loomer and Benny Johnson and people like that. So it's fucking ridiculous. So you're supporting a shutdown? Yes. Yes. It should have happened last time. Okay? Chuck Schumer should have pushed for it last time. For a million different reasons, by the way. Not just for healthcare. Okay. It should have happened last time. And remember, it doesn't have to continue. There's no reason to go to a shutdown. Okay? There's no reason for there to be a shutdown at all. Republicans could just say, you know what, you're right. We actually went a little heavy-handed on the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, specifically Medicaid. We're actually going to protect Medicaid, and we're going to ensure that people's health care is not taken from them. If they were to say that, then there would be no shutdown. That's it. It's that simple. There are other demands that they could be making here as well, but I'm happy with like the unified messaging on the healthcare front. That's not bad. Okay, that's not bad at all. Obviously, you could demand that the administration follow the Constitution and stop stop sending the American military to American cities